And Juan Barrero is
Hello and welcome to MexElects. You're looking out over the 10th floor of the Sears building. You just saw the beautiful Bellas Artes Palace, built at the end of the 19th century, the Porfiriato. Right across the street is the post office, kind of the Belle Epoque post office, built right around the same time. Over to the left, you're going to see the Alameda, which is one of the oldest public parks in the Americas, one of the oldest Spanish-American public parks. And here we are. So welcome to a Saturday brief MexElects update. Kurt Hackbarth here with Colin Mooers. We're here in Mexico City in the heart of things, where we're going to be for another day or two, and then we're going to hit the road back to Mexico City by the end of the month for the crucial final week. So Colin, I see Richie Rich is in a little bit of hot water, is he not?
Yeah, this is a pretty amazing story, actually, that broke about 24 hours ago. Ricardo Anaya, one of his major campaign organizers, by the name of Juan Barrero, was caught on 24 seconds of video, basically discussing how they were going to launder money through properties in Querétaro. This is this whole story about laundering money through essentially industrial properties in Querétaro has been one that's been dogging Anaya throughout. It kind of died away, but now it's back full throttle because of this video that's been leaked. I mean, if this doesn't kill Anaya's campaign, I don't know what is. The brother of Juan Barrero, who was discussing how they were going to raise this money through basically buying properties on the cheap, and
using
then
insider information, right?
Insider information to buy the properties, wait for their value to go up or put in some utilities, and then resell them at a hefty profit. Those profits would be used to fund Anaya's campaign. So this is pretty devastating. There is a Canadian connection for those of you who watch MexElects from Canada. The brother of Juan Barrero, Manuel Barrero,
who was kind of Anaya's principal business partner.
Principal business partner is not exactly on the run in Canada, but the Prosecutor General's office here has been trying to locate him. Apparently he is in Canada. They haven't pressed any charges yet, but it could be that the Prosecutor General's office will seek to extradite him back to Mexico. There's a sort of backstory to this too, which is worth taking note of. There was a period where Anaya's claims that he would prosecute Enrique Peña Nieto, the current president, if he took power, was in the news. That began to die away at the same time that the PRI sort of let off the throttle of accusations of money laundering against Anaya. That's all over now. And the reason that was happening, by the way, the sort of collaboration between the PRI and the PAN was that they were hoping one or the other candidate, either Ricardo Anaya or Jose Antonio Meade, would be the second candidate in the race. But it appears now that the gloves are off between those two parties. It's quite clear, or many people at least believe, that the PRI were sitting on this video for some time and have released it now because just the other day Ricardo Anaya in an interview on the television said, once again, yes, I will prosecute Enrique Peña Nieto if I win the presidency. So less than 24 hours after that, suddenly this video appears. Now, you know, the video is very damning, so as much as Anaya might want to say, oh, I'm being attacked again by the PRI, there's substance to this video because this is basically open admission of money laundering to fund Anaya's campaign. So that's, you know, pretty huge story. The second one we want to talk about is has to do with López Obrador.
Well, it's very much a continuation of the first story. And let's kind of, you know, give a little context here. As Colin laid out very well, Anaya began his campaign all piss and vinegar, kind of with this idea that he was a rebel and he was going to put Peña Nieto in jail for his crimes, right? Peña didn't like that, and then, you know, this is about around the same time that the PRI was really, according to Anaya, from the Attorney General's office, really pushing the story of his money laundering and other misdeeds in Querétaro. Then, as things happen in Mexico, this story just kind of died away. You know, they kind of came to kind of an underground sort of agreement, and this is when they were kind of trying to send out feelers to see if, as Colin said, that could be kind of a unity candidate. This appears to have broken down. So we have a clear and very deep now division amongst Mexico's elites, which is, of course, an enormous advantage for López Obrador. And there's no clearer way to see that than where we're right back in where we were before, right? We're back at Anaya again threatening to jail Peña when, you know, a month or so ago he was saying, oh, maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. I mean, he's really spoken out of both sides of his mouth on this. And the PRI, according to him, responding by coming out with this video that he thinks they have on the shelf. You know? And so this is kind of, you know, Anaya has stepped on so many people to get to where he is. I don't know how he didn't think that they weren't going to play hardball with him. If you make enemies in politics, your enemies are going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so the second story is Anaya's now claiming, you know, Anaya's trying to make lemons out of lemonade, a very sour glass of lemonade. And he's saying, well, if I can't make an agreement, you know, if we can't come to an agreement, then I am going to present myself as the rebel candidate, the candidate who's going to put Peña Nieto in jail. And so hence he then accuses AMLO of collusion with Peña Nieto, because according to him, you know, AMLO has said that he's not going to jail Peña Nieto, that he's not going to prosecute the former criminals, so that he's, you know, AMLO has said there are certain things that will be prosecuted. He's now speaking well of the PRI. He's now saying that we have to assist Peña Nieto in the transition period because we're in a difficult time with the trade war and issues with Trump. According to Anaya, this is prima facie evidence of collusion. At the press conference that Colin mentioned today, a very kind of crestfallen Anaya, who was kind of, you know, had all his buddies from the three parties around him, the question was asked, do you have any evidence that AMLO has made a pact with Peña Nieto besides what you're just saying it? And he basically said no, you know, in so many words. He said, well, it's just AMLO's statements speak for themselves, but that, of course, is no evidence of a pact, and there is no evidence of a pact. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, a few other things have been going on. Apparently there have been hundreds of thousands of, you know, essentially negative text messages that people all over Mexico have been receiving against López Obrador. Morena has complained to the National Electoral Institute, and they've, I guess, just today said, yeah, there are about 34 accounts from which these sort of dirty messages, you know, the campaña sucia, as they call it here.
Basically, their calls saying, they pretend to be surveys, saying, do you know that AMLO wants to release criminals? You know, kind of twisting his amnesty idea. Did you know that? Press 1 or press 2? And then if you press 1, he says, has this changed your mind about AMLO? And if it hasn't changed your mind, they give you some other twisted fact. Press 1 or press 2. Has this changed your mind about AMLO now? Again, trying to evade kind of laws by saying, well, you know, they're not push calls, they're a survey.
Yeah, right.
You know? And this, you know, with news that just came out a couple of days ago, that there was a long line out here outside of PRI headquarters here in Mexico City of people who had to give photocopies of their ID they were supposed to be getting 1,500 pesos. They got 500 pesos there with the rather hollow promise of 1,000 more. The PRI collects credentials, to have have them there on file and use that as a basis for vote buying and vote stuffing. This was just right out in the open. I mean, they were just out on the sidewalk in front of PRI headquarters, waiting to get their 500 pesos, handing over their photocopies of their voter IDs.
Right.
So we have an interview coming up with John Ackerman. It's in the can. We just have to get it up. John has said that AMLO has to win by up to 15% in order to really have his victory ratified, considering both these kinds of vote buying and vote intimidation and vote co-opting, plus the kind of chicanery that they could pull off in the electoral tribunal.
Right. Yeah.
So some 10 to 15% is the advantage he needs to have in order for it to be fraud-proof.
And with a 30% lead in the polls, he'll likely have that. But as we've said a couple of times, there's a real sense in this country that the margin of victory has to be so big that it's unassailable. And that appears to be what's happening.
Which doesn't discount that there could be fraud for the Congress, for the state legislatures, for governors, and for mayors, because they're all up on the same day.
That's right. That's right.
The idea is that the PRI may have given up the presidency, but they're going to try to basically dig themselves in the Congress with the rump that they're going to have, and try to block AMLO's initiative from there.
Yeah. So a little shorter report today. I don't think there's nothing else.
Because we had our Thursday.
That's right.
Report already about Ayotzinapa. And other things.
Yeah. So later this week, we're going to be in Morelia doing a series of stories there, and we will no doubt also do a news reviews update from Morelia. So that's all for now from MexElects.
Salud from Mexico City, and please join us on the road.